for the recording to happen.
Looks good, yes.
So what we're aiming to do, Jonathan, is after today, we'll issue all the drawings and we'll show you the video, and it's for you to reflect upon, and it's weighing up that whole triangle of quality, cost, time. Because obviously, and I think one of the main things from today is we've got three options, but obviously, you know, as is often the case with a grand design, it costs a bit more. But we've done two that we know will meet your budget, and there's probably the third option. Honestly, I'd rather be really upfront now, is likely to exceed your current budget. However, it's what we call the wild card. Chad came in, he'll explain it. Chad came in with this idea. So Chad's been working with us for about 5 years, and he's worked for all the leading architects in the UK. He was the design manager for a national corporate company, and he's won £1 million projects, and he's presented work that's won the company millions. But he's really good at small scale as well as large scale. So that's Chad, top left-hand side. But without further ado, so Chad and Alex will do a tag team, and Jubilee will chip in occasionally. And I think what we'll do, if it's okay, at the end, we'll leave probably 15-20 minutes for Q&A. Is that okay? And we'll go through the three options. So over to you, Alex. Chad, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay. Hi guys. So this is option one, and when we chatted, I suggested that we try to fit everything within the confines of the existing building before we then pushed to build an extension or do anything else. So this one gives you pretty much everything I think we discussed, and then obviously you emailed, and it works. So what we've got starting from the front is take out the existing downstairs WC and then form a utility in this space here. So you've still got a utility with access through to the garage, and obviously we don't have to move the boiler or do any major intervention in terms of plumbing as far as I'm aware. So that works quite well, and we can use this existing door, but it does mean that we might want to turn the existing study into a downstairs WC. What I'd like to say as well is all of these options, ideas within them, are totally interchangeable. So what we would do is let you have all of this, and then you can come back to us with what you love, what you don't like, and we'll try and find a direction of travel and go from there. We've also managed to fit a lift in, but as you can imagine, a lift is quite a large object, and so we'd have to move the stairs, and moving the stairs obviously brings into question the underfloor heating manifold. So I've managed to keep that underfloor heating manifold where it is, even if we do move the stairs, so in which case we won't have to rip up all the floor or make any change. But it does mean that installing a lift creates a smaller living room, but we can push the kitchen over here, have some double doors out, also have some French doors out from the bedroom, and so it's quite a simple option, with the only major structural intervention being the opening up of this wall here just to knock this all through, raising the floor to the dining room as we said, and obviously I already explained to you that we could change the heating manifold that's there at the moment and then create a wet underfloor heating loop in this space here. So this all works, it meets all your requirements, but it is, sort of lacking in other areas where we don't have a very large dining room. So it is a little bit squashed. Upstairs, obviously, we end up with the lift fitting. It compromises bedroom 4 a bit, and obviously you'd have to reduce the size of this window here. But it does all work. So, it is possible to fit a lift, but you might decide, and we were of the opinion that maybe having a lift when you've got a downstairs bedroom and ensuite might not be worth it for the cost. But we've explored that as an option. I think, Jose, if you can share with us this option here in 3D, just so you can have a little look at how it might appear in reality. So obviously the outside isn't really different in any meaningful way other than those French doors. So if we go inside, and you can have a little look at the kitchen, You know, all the planting could stay the same. We could change the paving, but you know, it gives you like a reasonable understanding of how that might look if you knocked it through. But I mean, this doesn't differ much to what you've got already, so you know, it's fairly easy to imagine. So that's option one, which is, you know, simple, straightforward, probably won't cost an absolute fortune, and is, you know, fairly easy to do. I think if we go now, Jose, if you share option two, and then I can go back to the plans and walk you through that. Whereas this is a bit more interesting, where we here we go. So we talked about the sun and that being an issue. And so in which case, you know, we've got a veranda, and then we've just taken your existing extension down, and then built a very simple flat roof extension, but gone to the full sort of extremities of the existing building. And we've also put an infill in on the other side. And then if I just go to the plan, Jose, and then we'll go back to this because it's probably a bit easier to understand it. So if I take you to option two, so what you can see is on this particular one, I've kept the stairs in, and then we'd have a steel beam across here, two steel beams across here to support it, end up with a kitchen, living space, dining space, all fronting the garden, which is what you sort of talked about, where we've got a really strong connection between the building and where you spend a lot of time and the garden. We could retain the existing living room as a sort of snug and a warm space. We could also have some doors, you know, in here, maybe open this up, maybe not open it up, but you know, it gives you some options. And then obviously the study, the utility, everything else would be the same as it is. So then I think, Jose, if you go back and show us some internals, you can really see how that space might look. So
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, with this one, I haven't changed any of the garden landscaping, and you could change some garden landscaping, but this is sort of like an achievable option, not crazy expensive to do, won't really harm the existing internal fabric of the building, but you know, gives you everything you need, everything you asked for and more. I think if you go inside as well, Jose, just to show you guys so you know, this is what the inside could look like. And so obviously we talked about that huge, great big window on the other side that was looking directly at a fence. And we've got some storage and, you know, place for knickknacks and a dining table and chairs, and you know, it works really well as a space. Obviously you could furnish it however you so wish. And you know, I think knocking through and maybe having some partition or some doors there might be nice, and then you know, looking into the kitchen and a dining space. So this is now, you know, a nice big open plan communal family space that, you know, you can use. And then if you just look out to the garden a minute, swing round, you know, you can see, you get a good view out from those windows looking towards the garden. You know, and you don't have to do too much to the existing structure in order to make this work. So yeah, that's that really. I think if I take you to Chad, and then he'll take you on to the you know, the third option.
Just in closing on that one, sorry to interrupt, but I think it's a lovely design, Alex. I mean, I think this is we you know, this is great. This is a great halfway house. The next one will be a little bit more outside the box, but yeah, and I think I mean, you'll probably just live your whole life there. We threw the doors into the existing living room at the last minute today, because perhaps you would then have you don't have to heat all that space, because that's the other thing you have to think about. That this would be, I don't know if you're going to have separate circuits, but I know it's practical. But as we get older, we need warmer houses, etc. So this would be the main living space. But you may like it all open plan, and perhaps when we get your feedback in a minute, it'd be interesting to see how you feel about that. Roof lights are wonderful. There are expensive ones and less expensive ones, so there's ways of looking at that, and I think it's I think it's great. So what we've done on the third option is to give a bit more height to this space as well, because from what I've heard, daylight is important to you. It's important to us all. So shall we move on to, we start
Yeah,
with
Jose,
the,
do you want to look at the plan first, or do you
yeah,
want
yeah,
to?
do the plan first.
Fine.
That'd be great.
Okay, just
Yeah,
a
that'd be
second,
great.
and let me
Yeah.
take you to the plan.
So again, the plan in essence is similar to all the other ones that Alex has just shown you. But we've actually taken the dining room out a bit more into the garden, so you push out further, gain a bit more floor area, and a sense of space in that area. The scheme would still work whether you did extend it or not. Then the kitchen is similar, but we haven't extended towards next door. It's all within the bedroom above footprint, but with the beam across. So you're saving money that end and spending it on this end, which is again probably an area you'd want to really live in, be connected to the garden. I mean, the disappointing thing about the living room at the moment is it's connected to the front, and not really much else. Or you've got the window there at the moment. But once this is all built, it'll be quite detached. So probably the place you'd want to hang out is in a sort of, not a conservatory, but you know, that's all gone a bit by the board now. But that people used to do that. But more of a sort of a glazed space. So before we go into the 3D, so the bedroom still stays the same. If it's a bedroom, converts to a bedroom later in life. We did talk about earlier on, and Alex mentioned it briefly, that where that chair is in the bedroom study could actually have a full height glass door there. So
Yeah. Sorry, Chad, this scheme differed slightly where I just completely absorbed the existing sort of utility into an ensuite. But I think, just to show you that as an option, but this is totally interchangeable with the other one. And yes, as you rightly say, we could have some French doors out here. I can change that before I send it to you. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah, sorry, that's okay. And in fact, some of our wilder cards in plan was to, if you're going to, you could actually rebuild the staircase to be more open plan, knock that wall out between the hall and the kitchen and living, so that you walk in and the whole house has a much more of an open plan feel. However, it is hard to keep warm and cozy, but it could be pretty amazing as well, because your hall is very big and generous, and it's an option to rebuild the stair and open it up. And but anyway, if we go to the 3D now, I think that's probably the best way to show you this scheme. So, sorry, did I get a comment?
No, we're just no. Carry on, please. No, this is different, very different. Yeah.
So, but basically, it gives you some shade because the roof projects beyond the windows, and so it's sort of acting as solar shading. But architecturally, it looks really nice and it's contemporary, which we know is what she wanted from coming to Dandelion Seeds. So it's lined inside with timber, and you get this.
Look at that! Very clever. Yeah, very clever. Yeah.
So you get this extra light. It's a bit of it breaks out of being more of a predictable house into something that's got a bit of wow factor in the height.
Yes. Really does. Yes.
And the kitchen, you see the kitchen back there as before in the dining. So you probably don't need to knock that hall out because there's enough going on in this space. And then again, the back sitting room could have a wall with just French doors. So that.
Or you could completely enclose the living room, and just block those doors up entirely, and then you've got a totally separate snug space. If grandchildren, could I possibly say, were coming and watching telly, and they can come and hide in there, and then you've got a totally separate space. Because at the minute you've got around.
You've got that the wrong way round. The grandchildren take the whole space, and the
parents
hide in it. So I'm only joking. But yes, so if we look outside again a bit more as well, Jose, so you can see that if we go up to the roof, so you understand that you can swing round up onto the roof, so we can see that window. So how you deal with that window up there is, it's got a flat gutter at the back there. So when your window cleaner goes up to clean that window, he can clear the gutter a bit as well, because it's important because the roof will drain. Alex is the whiz kid on this, but the roof will drain back down what we call a valley, where the two roofs meet. That's called a valley gutter. So that would, rather than having a downpipe at the front, which would spoil the glass doors and everything, all the water would go back there, and then it would collect and drop down a downpipe there. So So it doesn't spoil the house inside. I mean, it's not, you know, and that window will look out through the valley gutter anyway. But it's a box room, so we haven't put another chimney in this building. We did play around with chimneys, but you've got one back there, and on the whole, you don't really need them. So yeah, going back.
Just a very small detail, Jose. Can you change the colour of the cladding to the same colour as the tile, just to give some variety, just as an option? And then back over to you, Chad, while Jose.
Actually, were we going to show Meadow View at the end of this, which is one of another house we've done in a similar way?
Well, I can send it later, but perhaps not.
Okay, because that had the lighter colour. We've done a similar project with the double gable, which inspired us to do it on this one. And it's a very similar looking house to yours, and we just added this, and it's gone in for planning, and it went very well. So again, we've been sensible. We've kept the main house as it is. We definitely put full height windows. You can still keep the beam the same width. Or is that a wider beam, Alex, to the kitchen?
This is higher, like slightly wider, but yeah.
Yeah, but you could just keep the window, but I think you do want the width. I think that just looks right. So
this gives you the extra. It gives you a bit of height. It gives you a bit more view of the skyline, and you know, because you're set down slightly from the garden, it's sort of terraced down anyway. This gives you, you know, as I was saying when I talked to you, you know, we could try and pitch the roof up or give you some more skyline, and you know, it gives you a nice seating space. We also explored an option to combine the extension of option 2 with this one, but you know, we thought we would, because this would be inevitably a slightly more expensive bit of construction, we might not do the bit, you know, we might not extend the kitchen out. But yeah, there you go. I mean, it would be really interesting to hear your comments, you know, and
sorry, one last thing on this. So that black beam thingy, it's not, I mean, Jose threw that in probably at 2 o'clock this morning when he finished this, but it's cosmetic really. You don't have to have it, but we just thought it adds a bit of character to it.
A little reference.
So don't worry about that too much. Or again, you could actually express the timbers so that all of those roofs could be, the pitched roofs could be timber, and just continue to enhance that space. So you actually may see the timber structure. So it's yeah, as Alex said, over to you for comments now. Do you want to start with number 1 or work your way back from this one? Might as well work from this one because it's up.
Well, this is fabulous. I mean, who wouldn't go for that? It's delightful. I suppose we just need to know some sort of idea about the cost of it.
And that
it is lovely. It's beautiful.
And it's whether also we've got a problem with the planning on that. I don't know, because it's a bit toxic at the moment. So planning applications in this area with going out into the AOMB, but as a design, it's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, also the middle one is, it just sort of beds in really nicely. It all seems as though it's always been there in a way, which is very attractive. You've also, I've noticed, we've opened up in all the signs, you've opened up the window in the existing dining room facing the garden. It's wider, isn't it, on all of them?
Yeah. So the simple option, we just went for French doors, which you could just use the existing lintel and just take the sill out and just drop that and put in a set of French doors into the existing opening, which obviously is not crazy expensive. The other schemes, we've just gone wider and put a set of bifolds, or you could put some patio doors in. But yeah, so, you know, it just, this one calls out more of the existing structure, but it's a you know, when we were talking and you were questioning how you would support the corner, so this is all a lot simpler in terms of the installation of steel, because we're only supporting the building above. We're only supporting 2 walls. We're not trying to support the corner, so it is more straightforward in terms of structure. But obviously there would be quite a lot of work in, you know, doing it. But
Well, that's also lovely, and I like the pergola idea very much.
That was brought about from Chad talking about solar shading. And obviously Chad was suggesting as well that you could go for a contemporary aluminium pergola, or something that's more maintenance free. So there's options there. Yeah.
And the other one we were going to say was perhaps some of it could be glazed over, so that you could sit like where the seating is, so that you could sit on if it's slightly spitting the rain, you can still sit there. And also it means your garden furniture doesn't get covered in debris and rain, or if it stopped raining you could go out and it's dry, which is wonderful. So it's worth thinking about that as well. Maybe not all of it, one because of the costs, and two because of cleaning. You'd have to get up and clean it occasionally, but it's worth bearing that in mind, that some of the pergola is part glazed if you go for this one.
I've noticed that on this one, we at the moment we're used to sitting in the sunroom at the moment and eating obviously in the dining room. I mean, with that plan, would you are they interchangeable, or would that not work so well?
The only issue is the drainage, and so obviously we'd have to, I mean, it's effectively combined drainage anyway, so we could swap the kitchen to the other side, but we might have to run another. I think building control would be objectionable to dropping it straight into the surface water. So that's why it's all on that side.
I wasn't really sorry. I wasn't really meaning that. It just the sitting and the dining kitchen where it is. Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, which is I don't know.
You can
change it, or
either way. The space itself is totally flexible, isn't it? We can adjust it on all of these schemes, and I think for you, I think it's definitely worth going away with the plans. We'll take a load of screen grabs, and you've got this video to sort of go back through, and I think you just need to do a bit of soul searching, and then sort of decide what you love, what you don't like so much, what is an absolute must have, and and then come back to us, and then we can focus in on an actual scheme that we either go to planning with, or if we're not going to do an extension, we can just take it straight forward to detailing it up for building regs. So when we can be totally flexible in that regard, I think you just got to have a little look at, and we could, so if you like this but you wanted to change an element of it, then that's what this is all about. The first process was just to give you 3 options, and then to try and hone in on what it is you really want to do and what's important. The lift, for example, there's probably, if you have a proper Stanner platform lift like that, you can see in there, we've not detailed up the stairs in any great detail, but you can see the massing of it there, and it's quite imposing. I mean, you can get all sorts of different types of lifts. They don't have to be fully enclosed like that. They can just be cored out through. It depends, and you can have a little look. But obviously, there's probably about £15,000 worth of lift, and so it's a large expense, and it does result in having to mess around with the internal existing structure quite a lot. Whereas, if you didn't install the lift, you could keep the works focused on the rear extension and changing the utility, and it's a little bit less disruptive. Whereas this probably would result in despite trying to keep the underfloor heating pipe work where it is, it might result in you having to tear up all of the floors to sort the underfloor heating out. And so it's not just the installation of the lift, it's everything else that goes with it. So you might want to rule it out, even though it is possible to do.
Right.
Interesting.
The answer lies between these designs, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny actually. I like the way you sort of I don't know whether the word reference is right, but you did the pitched roof to kind of mirror the pitched roof of the house. It would be great to see how I mean, I know this would be the ultimate cost, but just taking the kitchen extension all the way to the end and having that, I don't know, it's well, I guess I'll have to.
We did work on it. I started working on putting a projecting zinc standing seam gable on the other side, but we then thought, well, hang on a minute, this is really gonna eat the budget. But I mean, if you really love this, then we can definitely pursue it. And
on a cost point of view, if you could still have this concept but not bring it out so much, so the internal space, so you could perhaps, if you decide to go down this route, and from a quick square meterage cost study, you think it could still project out from the white building by, say, a couple of feet, but otherwise it's not worth doing. But we've come up quite a bit, but we have come up beyond the windows because it just gives that lovely sense of shading and privacy.
That's 3 meters from 3 meters from the edge of the existing projection.
So it's quite, but it will still have that wow factor feel inside if it wasn't that long. You just have a smaller sort of seating area you just have a couple of couches maybe there, and then the dining room table. So it's good sometimes to push the boat out to the most extreme one. And have you still got your sketch, Alex?
I do have it. Yeah, if you want to, it's very, very rough.
Well, as you've raised it, we should show you, because a lot of thought,
where we were going.
A lot of thought has gone into this to be realistic as well.
The other issue is obviously the AONB. So we'd have to be, and I know the AONB is it just cuts the corner, doesn't it? So but we do have to be sensitive of that, or we'd have to just let this load up a second. We have to work out how we best present it to the planners to do something that's like this. But it's fine. We've done it before. Phil's like really good at convincing planners to do things that might not always sit right. So it's good.
So I work with a planning consultant who has approved and determined applications next door. So he worked for Taunton Dean for 20 years. So he would be giving me some. If you were to go forward with this, I will be running this past him. Yeah. Because then what he'll do is give me all the backdoor policies that will make sure this works. Which I think we can get this through. But what I'd ask him to do is just give almost like the lawful policy argument, just to ratify it, to make sure it goes through fairly easily, because the parish council obviously will be commenting on this. And I do even recommend it, if you've got good connections with the parish council, I'd sit down and I'd meet with them in person, and also speak to your neighbours and just get them involved as well. But that's irrespective, actually, to some degree, which option you go for, whether it's option 2 or 3.
So we discussed this, didn't we? And obviously you've got the issue with the other scheme going on beyond here, and then obviously a lot of neighbours do get a bee in their bonnet. But also, I mean, this does fall outside of permitted development, and I know we're in AONB anyway, but that this ridge height, I think, is not more than 4 meters. That is ever so slightly higher than the 2.5 meters, so it needs planning anyway. But it's not overbearing, it's not overlooking, it's not dominant as massing goes, and so it's purely the sort of aesthetic being ever so slightly different. But as you rightly spotted, the pitch is the same as the main roof slope. I mean, I did at some point look at totally revamping this and putting a big glazed gable in the end, but obviously there's cost to that, and to what benefit. But this was the other bit.
Sorry, Alex, the one other thing I just wanted to say was that's quite interesting, and it's just the client suggested this. What would be really lovely, but this is is if you had the fourth gable, which should be outside the French doors, so that should join up your one that you've just shown us. So but that's in an ideal world.
Project this one out,
have another one there, and then it would all flow together as a rear elevation, which should be amazing. But oh, well done.
I really like that. I'm just aware that we're adding that would probably double your budget.
But it's worth. I've just done some work to my house, and I'm beginning to wish, having done this today, worked on this, I wish I put a pitched roof on. I've just put a flat roof on, not an extension, and I just don't have any wishes. So, well, we went down that route, but we knew it wasn't affordable. At least you thought about it. But I mean, that would be pretty awesome. But I think, and of course, the thing you have to remember is, would you get the money back when you sell the house? So this is the factor that we all have to build in mind. But you get the right builder at the right time in the right wind, and he builds it in timber frame, and you'd be surprised what you can get. It's just, but yeah, it's good to be thinking outside, literally outside the box at the moment. And or you might put that gable that Alex has shown us there, not put it there, but actually put it in front of the kitchen windows. So you don't do that, but you just have a third wave.
Turn it round the other way.
No, just have a third, pull it across. So it's the third wave of though you've got 1, 2, and then you have the third one. Just move it across, dump it there, and put it in front. Yeah, there. So that becomes a family of. You might want a family of 3, which would be awesome. But again, that's going to cost probably quite a lot.
Anyway, there's all sorts of
Oliver. Oliver, which of the 3 phases, if obviously financially, let's just park that to one side. I mean, this isn't based on a financial decision, but which one would you probably choose if it were you making the decision?
If it was me, I do love the I can see on the ultimate version. I love the way that you get the extra height and the sense of height when you do that. However, I do think that the middle one is perhaps it just seems such a natural well, as Dad said, it's almost as if the way the house should have been originally. It's got that lovely clean. The footing's perfect now. The what do you call it? The wood thing on the pergola. Yeah, that's a cracking idea. That because you can imagine plants growing up in grapes and stuff. But it just balances the property beautifully.
Jose, do you want to just go back to the nice fancy 3D just because it gives you a much better sense of how it looks in the site to my rough sketches.
We were very pleased with it this morning when we saw it come out. I mean, it really does look lovely, that interior. And it's just so we haven't gone mad really.
And as Chad says, that could have paint and glazing on top of it for a section of it, and so you get one side that you could grow stuff up and another side that is covered and you can sit under it in inclement weather or whatever. And and you don't necessarily have to change the hard landscaping. I mean, you could push it back if you wanted to.
I think it would be nice if you could have more breathing space there than be up
it's quite tight, isn't it?
While you've got diggers in, you might as well do that. But so Alex, this one here, we've fully pulled down the old conservatory to make this work, haven't we?
Yeah, so we just get rid of the old sunroom and then and we build it hard up against the existing. So, the only danger of not having a little return is that we'd have to have a silicon expansion gap so that you don't get a crack in the render line. But anyone that's really good with rendering should be able to do that, and then you just have like a silicon expansion gap. But you wouldn't really be able to see it. So, I did about dropping a post down or something. But yeah, it's detail. That's detail.
So you can see that we've done it in black as well, which I quite like it. But I think
and you'd have to have some hoppers for the flat roof to drain out of, some hoppers and downpipes that would be connected into but they're not shown just because this is all just indicative. You can just imagine a little black hopper coming out and then some pipework.
Gaining that extra bit at the end there that Jose's just showing you does really give that wonderful space. However, again, a compromise would be not to build this bit. The whole concept would still stand up. You just would build this bit and you'd shove everything down a bit, so it wouldn't be quite such a big space. So you could almost perhaps go for planning and price it if you went for this option. And then if you decided not to build it, I think we just have to put minor amendments into the planners to say we're not building that bit. But I think but once you've got the builders in, you don't want to have that regret in 5 years' times.
Yeah.
So it looks like this one's hitting. And do you like it in black or timber, the pergola?
Do we like the black? Yes.
Yeah. And it could be aluminium, as we've said, which would mean it never has to be decorated, but looks quite contemporary, but quite chunky. And as I said, you have some glazed elements. And in fact, aluminium would be better because it works better with glass because it doesn't move as much as wood. Have some glass over the seating area or one portion of that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So you wouldn't glaze it all, one, because you create a solar trap and you'd be heating up that pergola too much, but you just have some area that keeps, or as Alex said this morning, you could have some hanging
drapes, yeah, like a Roman blind type thing where they just, you pull them out. You could pin them up in the summertime and then take them away in the winter, and you get a bit more shading as well.
Yes,
but obviously, we can design the envelope to be, to modern regs to just reduce the solar gain. Certainly in the extension that I've built, I've got 2 roof lights that I can open, and this one I foil wrapped it as well, for the upper parts. But we can explore options, and you can have like solar glazing and things like that help. But obviously you're not south facing, so it's not quite as bad. But,
Jose, could you just hold it back on turning it facing towards the kitchen? So if you didn't feel you could go for that last bit, which is lovely with the extra roof light down there, you could actually get rid of the 2 sofas. You still have a seating area there, but you just would pull it in so that it lines up with the existing wall that's there. Do you see what I mean? But I think there's something about the space of this. That's where Jose's skills are so wonderful. You just really feel you're there, and I think do you like the length? Is that, or could you live with the kitchen moving in a bit?
No, I love the length. That was the biggest good, and I love the lights. I like the light in the ceiling of the kitchen as well. So.
Yeah. No, it's a very nice space to work in the kitchen.
And you're also opening up again into the sitting room. Is that right? You've widened that.
Yes.
I like that as well, because that's an awkward. Yeah. Otherwise, it's awkward a bit.
Yeah. I mean, you could. I think you either have it. I mean, from my perspective, you either have it fully open or shut off entirely. But it's one or the other, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
But again, it all depends on how you live in the house. Some people like to subdivide their rooms up, and other people don't. Obviously, when I first talked to you, the biggest thing, was your relationship with the kitchen, and the fact that you had to go into the kitchen and you had just you've got a table and chairs, but it's not a very social space. And so and you don't get that relationship with the garden. So I think what we've tried to do with every single scheme is pull the kitchen over as you asked and create a living space that is fronting the garden, and you get that with all of them. So I think I think definitely go away and have a look at everything, and then come back to us with your thoughts, and then we can push it further forward.
On this number 2 then, what did we do with the side? Was it a bedroom? Have you put it as a bedroom and then we organised?
I have, yeah. So we've done bedroom study. Jose's it's not in his model to have the French doors, but hang on, let me just take you back.
Have a plan once more.
Obviously, we'll send you these drawings.
Yeah, sure.
I'll send you everything later. But you can see here. So we were like hovering around in here. I also added a little full height storage cupboard, and you get a little store here, because otherwise the ensuite ends up being massive. Well, not massive, but it's quite long and thin. And then this would result in adjusting this window here, taking this window out, putting French doors in, then taking out this wall here. So this turns into quite a nice room. I mean, this is something that Chad pointed that out, that it'd be really nice to be able to come in and out of here, and it makes this into a much nicer space. And because at the moment you've got high level kitchen windows which don't really lend themselves so it's a much better option. And then the only issue to my mind is I tried to have a meaningful utility and have a WC in this space. But it's there's just not quite enough room to be able to get, because if you didn't have this door here, or if we moved that door over, I played with some options, but it seemed to make sense, since you had a soil pipe coming down here anyway, and this wasn't it wasn't an enormous space, that you could put a really nice well-appointed downstairs WC that could also potentially be wheelchair accessible or ambulance disabled, or it's a much more manageable space. So in the future, if you needed to put some handrails in or something like that, it's a much better, larger space for a downstairs WC. I know you've got the ensuite as well, but to my mind, it worked better. And obviously, as Chad said, you could, if you don't put the lift in, you don't compromise the living room, and you could put double doors in here, which, you know, bring, as you come through, it gives you an even more grand sort of reception into this area. So yeah, lots of food for thought anyway.
And one other one is the WC, the hall WC. It could be if a utility room, so that you still get that access through. It means you don't have a general WC downstairs for visitors. They have to go into the bedroom to use the WC, which a lot of people don't like. But it does seem to be sitting there as a fairly unused space, that WC. So if you did, you know, you want to put more of the junk from the kitchen in there, the wash, probably not the dishwasher, but, you know, it's another space you might want to review what actually goes on in that WC. Or it might even be a WC stroke washing machine room, because you know, washing machine in a downstairs WC is not the end of the world, and it could be discreetly hidden in a cabinet. And you know, it's just, so you've got lots of options just in those spaces. I think the house shakes up really well for all these options, and probably number 2 is the most realistic one to go for, with the option of, if it comes in expensive, you don't do the kitchen extension. But I think it's worth pushing for it once you've got the builders in. There's only, at the end of the day, Phil, there's only 2 walls to build and a roof, isn't there, and a bit of slab.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but it's getting the guys on site that's the major cost. I would probably, if you're going to do this option, I'd do the side kitchen for, because if you did that later, it's going to cost twice as much. Just to do that as a standalone project.
I see the advantage. Sorry, can I just say I see the advantage of where you've got the hob in the kitchen. Now there's been a problem thinking about that. Because that's the south-facing window we've got at the moment in the dining room. But of course, if you have, what you've done is have a skylight, roof light, so that we get plenty of light in that area, and we can have the hob in the right place. So I think that works very well.
Go back to the 3D, Jose, just a minute, and then you can see. And then Jose, can you orbit the sun around just so you can see how it plays with the. So this should be geolocated correctly. So Jose might chip in and go, no, it's not. But if it's not, I've got my SketchUp model that is, and you can see where the sun is at the worst time, or about 7 o'clock on a summer's day. Maybe if I go back to the SketchUp, Jose, just so you can see where the sun goes, it might be easier. Hang on a minute, let me just get the right one. Spare me 2 seconds. Turn the sun on. It's always helpful to be able to turn the sun on. Right, and then let me just share that with you, and then I can just show you how it comes round in the day, because I know that was a key sort of concern, wasn't it? This is about. So this is June, July, 6:30 in the evening. So you can see that it is coming in. You know, and I don't know, does that accord with what you normally experience?
It does. It does.
And then if we go to sort of 7:30, obviously we've got some sun coming through, so you're always going to get it, but it's probably less pronounced than you've had before. Sorry. So you will get a little bit coming through, but obviously, if you've got a pergola rather, not a pagoda. Then that would help reduce it a little bit, but it's because it's west facing, it's always gonna. I mean, it is the west facing is the best orientation, really.
So in conclusion, as we sort of come to a close, have we sort of met your expectations of a series of ideas? How did you feel today went for you?
I'm very pleased. Yes, I'm very excited. Really, I mean, I think we want to go away and really look at it all again before making a decision. But I think, it's very, very encouraging, isn't it?
Don't worry, I'll force them to decide.
The nice thing is we've given you the very basic, the very, I won't say expensive, but we've the toll-free schemes offer 3 options that are very, very cautious to higher risk, and it's just a question of where your passion, your heart, and your bank balance takes you. And but I think they're all lovely, particularly 2 and 3. But even 1 would be a huge transformation to the house.
I had a technical question just very quickly before we go. We have an ongoing argument where these guys like to keep the windows closed, and I like a bit of airflow. Now, at the apartment where I used to live in the year, they had you'll know all about this, but it's a system called MVHR system or something, heat recovery and mechanical, whatever. Is that something that can be reasonably applied to a house like this? Is it appropriate? Does it tack onto the heat pump? Is it worth it, or should we keep the underfloor? Just
the only issue with MVHR on this is routing the ductwork, and so it's quite invasive to retrofit it because you need 100 mm diameter duct, and it's got to be routed through the ceiling. So you have, in all the bathrooms and wet rooms, you have the extract, so the exhaust, and that gets routed back up through the magic box, the heat exchanger, and then you end up in the other rooms with the intake, and so it is complicated. Well, it's just quite invasive to do because you'd be pulling floorboards up, or a lot of builders now prefer to just tear the whole ceiling down, put the new pipework in, and then put new ceiling up and skim it, because it's a lot easier than it is to rip the floor up. But yeah, it is doable. It's more invasive. It's can benefit you in terms of if you've got allergies and things like that. But for retrofit, I personally wouldn't do it. But that's not to say it can't be done.
So, do they perform well that side, or is it?
If you're gonna,
it's best just have a fan.
If you're gonna heat the house, it depends what you're doing. If you're trying to heat the house, I would go for a house this size, and especially considering the age of the construction and the thermal, the U values that the existing walls have, I would definitely keep it to the underfloor heating. If you want mechanical extraction, it can help. You can actually get mechanical extractors that are mini MVHR, so you get a little. I think Ventaxia do them. I think there are other manufacturers as well. So it's a bit of a bigger box on the wall. But say you've got an existing extractor in the bathrooms, you can just retrofit a heat recovery one. But there's that option. I mean, it can definitely be done. You can, I've done it on a lot of new builds, certainly flats. I did like a set of flats in Taunton where the only heating was done through MVHR, and then we had really, really good U values. I think everything was 0.1, so walls, roof, and the floor, and the windows were like 1.2, which is like really, really, really good. And then there was no other heating. It was literally just through the MVHR. So it can be done, but for this one, I would have thought, just having mechanical extraction, certainly trickle vents, they're really important. And then purge ventilation is really important. So just opening windows and doors. But yeah, some people like it nice and cold. I mean, my wife thinks I'm a toad because I do like it. I like it a lot colder than it is. So we just never have any heating on, and so then I get accused of being miserly. And it's just that as soon as the fire goes on, I'm like, I've got to leave. It's just too hot. It's too much. So, I think that's just that's a boy girl thing. I think
it is. Yeah. So, cool. No, that's good enough.
Jubilee, if I could ask just to wrap this up, is there anything you'd like to add before we finish?
I think that it's great to see the different options. I do agree that this second option fits in really well. It makes the house look almost a bit more complete. I really love how it feels on the inside, especially if you're going for that more sociable space. I think that it links the spaces together really nicely, and of course with the garden as well. But yeah, if you do want to go for that more wow factor, then the double gable zinc gables are really nice as well. But yeah, I do think it is worth that extension at the end where the kitchen is.
Yeah.
Jose, do you want to show us the magic again, just so we can end the meeting? Just looking at the pretty pictures.
With some music, Jose.
Yeah, with some music, with some calming music.
Yeah. But no, he does add music sometimes, and it really does help emotionally connect with what we've done.
Right. Okay,
I noticed you got rid of the neighbours. How much does that cost?
Yeah, I know. Well, we can ban everyone.
Yeah.
Well, all your options, like, you know, if Jose pulls right out, you'll see that you're living next to each other in multiple schemes. So because he puts them all on the, so yeah, you've got like, you know, each one. So you're living next to each other like that. You see, yeah.
Oh,
So
very
just
good.
to give you some
Yeah.
context, yeah. But,
Yeah.
so you can see you're seeing how the sausage is made now, though, which is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay. Well, I can in about an hour send you the plans, but we will also send you some screenshots. And as Phil rightly says, you've also got this video to look back on as well. And you can, you know, have a little look. And then if at some point, you know, next week when you've had time to land, you know, back to planet Earth again, you could come back to us with some thoughts, then we can push it further forward.
Yeah, we've got big decisions to make, because they're all very, very nice schemes, and the sad thing is we can't build all three of them.
Yeah. That pitch roof is mega, actually.
It's good. It is good.
Yeah.
That's a new dimension, doesn't it? Really, it does. Yeah.
But you see, you're not extending out the other end, so you could perhaps argue the money saved not doing that other bit, the other end, could go into this. So there is, you have to bear that in mind, that this isn't all totally greedy. The expenses on this bit here, which really gives you something.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, Liz, Oliver, it's been lovely to meet. We do have to jump on a meeting. Really pleased with the outcome. Most grateful for the opportunity, and I'll send you a YouTube link probably later, about 5 o'clock. And in the interim, Alex will send you some plans to look at. There's no rush from our point of view, but as soon as you're ready, we're happy to.
There's definitely no rush. No rush.
But we're grateful. We have a lot of clients coming to us at the moment. We want to, However, we can deliver yours. If you asked us to start work next week, we'll start work next week. So we'll prioritise your projects. It's entirely up to you. So we'll work to suit your preferences, but we're available to start next week if you'd like us to. But equally, if you want to sit on it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there's no.
After Christmas.
We can accommodate either way. So have a lovely weekend. Nice to meet you, Oliver, too. Thanks for contributing.
Good to see you all again.
We'll catch up again. Whenever you've decided what to do. So that's brilliant. Thank you again. Thanks everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye. I will see you. I will chat to you later, Phil, and then send these off. Okay.